Hi guys, and welcome back to my Patreon tutorials. It's lovely to have you here. So for today I thought we'd take a look at drawing dog faces. Now I know that can be quite tricky for some people, so I thought we'd have a go at that today, focusing on kind of like muzzle shapes, mouth shapes, but in general looking at dogs' faces. So grab your pencils, grab your pens, whatever you want to draw with, and come and join me. So for the first drawing, I thought we'd start off with a dog looking straight on at the camera. So what we tend to do is what I always just suggest, start off with a circle. So we'll go quite large here. I'm choosing to draw with a red pencil because this is going to be full of guidelines and we can cover that up later by using something like a black pen. But we'll start off with a large circle wherever you want to draw it. Now we're going to just draw a line down the middle. It's just to get a kind of a rough centre for where the dog's face is going to be. We'll build up from this structure here. So once we've got the centre line drawn in, I like to place my eye sockets. Now you can also, if you want to build up more guidelines, you can. So I suggest doing, perhaps dividing that circle into quarters. And then dividing this circle along the sort of horizontal line into 3 sections. So it'll be very rough, but it's just to give you an idea. So I'm just going to place that line there, place that line here. So for the eyes, I tend to put them in this section here. I try to draw them bigger than the eye will be, because bear in mind that the eyelids will form around the shape of the eyeball itself. So I'm just going to draw in a couple of large circles here. These are just guidelines, and that's why I suggest using something like a coloured pencil or something you can erase afterwards. If you just use graphite, that's fine, because you can erase the lines afterwards. So once I've got the eyes in, I'll put the sort of snout and muzzle in. So the top of the snout is just above where this third line is here. And I'm just going to draw in kind of a rectangular shape. Obviously it depends on what type of dog you're drawing. I'm just going off a reference here, which I'll have up in the top somewhere for you to see. It's a golden retriever type dog. So that's roughly where our snout is going to be. So I'll also place the nose while I'm here. And the nose itself, and using the centre line here to draw the middle of the nose, it's kind of like a oblongy, soft, ovally type shape. So I've got where my nose is going to be. So again, next I'm going to draw where the nose is, so next I'm going to draw the mouth opening. So you kind of draw a line down where the nose is in the nose centre is, and then you can draw slants just away, in sort of a semi-diagonal shape, and that's the kind of shape that you'll see from the front of the mouth. You can also draw the chin. So this dog that I'm drawing has quite a flat chin here. And I'm also going to draw in where the upper lip goes up and around the muzzle shape here. So these are all just guidelines. These are quite rough. I keep using the word rough. It's no pun intended. Now, so what I like to do is I'm always looking at my reference, but I can see that there's a slight angle here for where the kind of cheek of the dog, this is where the molars of the dog will be. And I'll show you I've got a fox skull that I'll show you in a minute just to give you an idea. Well, this is where the molars are. Just build a little shape around that. The cheek itself comes off from slightly lower down and goes up like this. So the mouth you can't really see because, well, you can see the front part of the mouth, you can't see the side part of the mouth just because of the angle that we're looking at the dog. So don't worry about that too much. So I'm just drawing in kind of the lower jaw, the cheek sections of the dog's face here. So now I'm going to also place in where the ears are. So giving an idea for where the cheek goes up, this is about where the orbital ridge is on the dog. So if we take this area here and kind of draw up a diagonal line between this line and this line here. Now, the dog's ears. This one has the sort of floppy Labrador type ears, so we can just draw in some triangles here. So that's where the ear connects to the top of the head. We'll have top of the ear come down like this. The outside of the ear come in like that. Again, just guidelines. We'll do the same on the other side. Cool. So you've got a very basic dog face here. I'll draw in where the neck is. I think it's like a rounded oval shape, whatever you like. Now for the eyes, so I've got basically the entirety of the eyeball here. So the eye itself won't be this large. What I tend to do is from where the outside of the nose is, have a very gentle line that goes to where the tear duct is. So the tear duct is roughly here. I'll draw in this eye shape. Rounded top. Rounded bottom. And pull in that tear duct here. I'll do the same on this side. Trying to make it as even as possible. Symmetrical, I think, is the word I'd like to use there instead. So that's roughly where the eyes go there. Now I'll draw in the nose properly. So the nose kind of comes up in this like V shape here, but it's very subtle, it's not so strong. And then the top of the nose, kind of a straight line-ish here, and it rounds down the side like that. It's almost like a heart shape. I think that's a good shape to bear in mind when you're drawing this for the first time. That is almost heart-like. You can kind of see it there. Now the nostrils, so they come in from the side like this, and they're just two kind of circular shapes here. So I've realised I've drawn this a little bit too high, but it doesn't matter too much because it's just red pencil guidelines at the minute. I'll fix it later. That's better. Cool. So what I like to do now is I like to start putting in the other facial features. We've got, for example, the eyebrows. And I'll tend to put those in just like this. Almost like an upside down teardrop. So I also like to do where the lower eye socket is, lower bit of the eye socket is. Same on both sides. Another kind of smooth shape along here, and this is just where all the muscles and the eyebrows fall in. It's where the dog kind of makes its expressions. So I'm also going to bring that down here, and I've realised that this cheekbone shape is not quite right, so I'm just going to round it off. Just like that. Cool. So this dog isn't quite like my reference, but that's fine. I'm just showing you kind of how to place the facial features. So the ear kind of comes in front slightly here. And clearly looks very alert, like he's listening to what you're saying. And there's a ridge here along the forehead. And this is the kind of the top of the dog's nose here. So now that I have my general structure, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in with a black pen. I'm just going to finalise all those things I like to keep. I always tend to start with the eyes just because I think the eyes are the most important. So get that tear duct in. If I'm going too quickly for you, feel free to pause the video and restart it at any point. So I am just popping the eye in here. And do the same on the other side. So when you're drawing in your fine lines, this gives you the opportunity to kind of refine anything. I tend not to worry about the guidelines. I think they can add quite a nice little bit of character underneath. I'm doing lots of light sketchy lines, not pressing too hard with my pen. So you have about where the eyes are. So while I'm here, I'm going to pop in the eyebrows. Upper eyelid. Might even do a line here for eyelashes. Oh, sorry, upper eyelid rather. I'm using the pen to just kind of emphasize where I've put those lines in. I'm not necessarily drawing every single line that I've drawn in a red pencil, just kind of emphasizing the ones I like to keep. Draw the line down the middle. Maybe do some cross hatching for shading here. Do some shadow here. Bearing in mind I'm not drawing every single line that I've drawn in red pencil, just because, you know, the bridge of the nose, they're important, but for me I don't want to keep them visible just because I think it can be emphasized with shading rather than outlines. So we've got the muzzle. Just taking care to pull in the shapes I want to keep. That chin, I can tell that he's got kind of a bit of a wrinkle here from where the lips meet. Just going to draw that in like that. So I'm also going to pop the actual lip in. I'm going to give that a bit of shadow as well. Up to the nose. So I know this part of this lip split here goes up into the nose. And then drawing his little nose shape heart thing whatever shape that you think this looks like most. So let's sort that nostril out. That's better here. There. Now that looks better. Just drawing that lower jaw. I think I've noticed that the forehead looks a bit too short for me, so what I'm going to do is draw the top of the head ever so slightly higher than my guideline. Because one thing I like to impart is that you can always change things as you go. You don't have to be, you don't even have to be erasing things. You can just draw over, or you can change colour to make something look more permanent. But you can change things as you go. So drawing his ear shapes as well. Paying attention to my reference and how the ear lies. Kind of a flap here. Round that up. It's kind of a bit of fluff here. Cool. And I'll do the same on the other side. His neck in as well. Cool, so now that I have it all outlined, I'm going to add a bit of shading in just to kind of make it stand out a little bit more. So I can see that the ear ridge goes like this. Just going to do some light cross hatching, so to bring in some shadow. A little bit of shading here on the tip of the ear. Like so. I'm not making this perfect, I'm just giving you an idea of what you can do when you've done your sketching. Eyebrows, so he's got a bit of a shadow here. And a bit of shading here as well. And sort of a squiggly line here to emphasize where the shadow is. You can do the nose. We can draw in the eye as well. A highlight there. That's one eye. Just comparing them as I go to make sure that they stay semi-symmetrical. Almost there. Good. So that is how you kind of structure up a dog face on. So next we're going to look at drawing a dog from the side. So once again, I'm going to start, as I always do, with a circle. This is going to be the kind of main part of the head. So the reference I've got here, which I'll pop up somewhere for you, is a German Shepherd. And they've got quite sort of long angular faces. So again, when you're doing your dog drawings, kind of bear that in mind and take into account whichever breed or whatever you are drawing. So I tend to start with like a line for where the top of the head is. And then this is where the forehead is, just another slope down. Drawing the muzzle. So once I've kind of got kind of roughly where the top of my dog's head is, I'm going to pop in the shape for the muzzle. And that can be of a long triangular shape. So I do this. Actually, instead of a triangle, I'm going to suggest drawing a kind of pointed rectangle. So this is the top of the nose. The tip of the nose is here, and there's going to be a slight slope backwards. And then for the chin, it'll be slightly slope down again. So you've got this kind of rectangular shape for the muzzle. Now the cheek will be in this kind of area. And you get an idea for where the throat is as well. The German Shepherds have got quite large ears, so I'm going to pop in where the ear sits. Draw a large triangle shape here. I think the ear's so big it'll actually come off the page a little bit, so we've got this kind of, again, it's almost rectangular because it's got 4 sides, but it's quite a long shape there for where the ear is. You can slope away for where the back of the head is. So, going back to the forehead. I think this forehead's actually a bit too long, but I think that's just because the base of the ear is not close enough to the front. So now what I do is I'm going to pop in again where the eye socket is. It's going to fit in roughly here. So what I suggest, and I always suggest this, is actually getting an idea for the anatomy below. So what I have is a fox skull, and I thought I'd show this to you. So bear that in mind. If you don't want to see a fox skull, you can skip ahead. But I do have them for anatomy purposes. So this isn't a dog, this is a fox, but they're very similar. So you'll have, this is the snout, the eye socket here, and then the top of the head that runs along the back. So this isn't going to be quite the same as a dog's skull. Now dogs, depending on the breed, they can vary quite a lot, but foxes, they're quite soft. There's not a lot of angles going on here, but it's just to give you an idea of what the anatomy of the animal looks like. So just to give you an idea. So the eye socket, which I've shown you here, I tend to go oversized just because the actual eyeball itself is quite large. What you see of the eyeball is going to be quite small because of the eyelids itself. But that's why I always go a little bit oversized when I'm drawing the side profile. Now, for example, this ridge here would be the forehead part that runs along here. And then the top of the head is again this top bit along here. Now the muzzle runs along here. Now what dogs, foxes, most animals have is will be a squishy kind of cartilaginous bit here, which is where the actual nose is. So that's why this extends much further. The anatomy of the skull, it doesn't have essentially where the nose is, which would be just kind of on the edge here of the skull itself. And then if we imagine the nose ends about here, the upper lip will slope back like this section here, and then the chin runs along like that. So I figured that would be helpful for you to see. So obviously this is a skull that has got its jaw closed. The skull, well, I'll go through open mouths in a bit just to give you an idea of how things change. But the joint of the jaw is just here past the eye, behind the eye socket. So when its mouth opens, it hinges back here. So as you can see, it goes to more of a kind of triangular shape. So with the point of the triangle being back here, and then this being wide up here. So it's just something to bear in mind for when you're drawing mouths open. I will go through that in a moment for you as well. But it's just an idea. Like I said, this is a fox. It's much different. It's not wildly different from a dog, but it's worth bearing in mind that a dog does look different like this, different to this. But that's just for your reference here. So I'll put that to one side. So that gives you a bit of an idea of what lies underneath these shapes that I'm putting in. So let's get back to my dog skull. Let's get back to my dog drawing. So once I've got an idea of where the forehead is and where the eye goes, I'm just going to start drawing the muzzle itself. And the nose sits right on the end. I'm just going to draw in a square shape here. And then this is where the kind of upper lip is. This is where the chin is. The chin ever so slightly slopes back on this reference photo. And then this is where the corner of the mouth is. Cool. So what I'm going to do now is actually draw in the mouth itself. So this is where, like I said, the corner of the mouth is. Depending on the dog, you might not actually see much of the mouth, and in this case you don't really see much of it. And it just slopes to about here. The nose overhangs a little bit, so I'll just draw in the nose. So drawing the nose itself side on, like I said, you've got this kind of rectangular square shape here. You only see the nostril about there. You don't see it quite as round as you do on this one. Side on. So there you have your nose. Now I'm going to draw in the eye. So this is where a rough shape of where the eye goes. The eye itself is probably only central to this one, so I'm just going to draw the front of the eye here. If you've seen my other cat eye drawing tutorial, it's much the same. You've got kind of a rounded front, and then the corner of the eye comes back like this. Just like that. I have a tear duct that comes down here, and then the upper eyelid here. Good. So you can draw this line back and you'll get to roughly, just ever so slightly, it's kind of semi-horizontal, but you draw this line back and you'll get to where the corner of the ear is. So what I'm going to do is draw in the ear shape as well. This is the front of the ear. This is kind of where the ear opens up. Lots of folded bits of tissue here. And that's the other front of the ear there. It goes around to the back of the ear. And that meets up to essentially where, like I showed you on the fox skull, this is where the hinge would be for the mouth. And then the cheek and the muscles would come down like so. So I'm just going to draw in some slight facial features. So this is where this eyebrow is much like this one here. And then come in, this sort of cheekbone area here comes in like this. Good. So you'll see on dogs' faces, they always got this rounded bit here is approximately here. And essentially, I spoke about it in my cat face tutorial. But I'll show you the fox skull again. So this kind of, when you look at a dog's face, this is kind of raised and much rounder, and then it kind of dips in here, like where the cheek and the molar is kind of the cheek. The anatomy is a bit difficult to explain, but if you've got a dog, it's really good, useful to look at. But this bit is raised. This is where all the whiskers are, and then it sinks in here, which I'd put a little bit of shadow in just to show you. Essentially, this ridge falls right over the top of the canine teeth. And this bit where it sinks in, I'll show you from the top. You can see it's rounded here, and then it sinks in here. Concave, convex. Concave, convex. And essentially this bit is the concave part of the face, and this is the convex part of the face. So it just gives you an idea for where, if you're adding a bit of shadow, adding a bit of depth to your drawings, it's worth paying attention. Definitely worth getting into and understanding the anatomy below the skin, because ultimately the shape of the skull is what determines where shadows go, and ultimately leads to a sort of a sort of deeper illustration. So it is worth getting to grips with the anatomy that goes beneath the skin. So I'm just going to draw in these extra, you can't quite see it, but there's an extra eyelid here. And on this reference photo, the other ear comes in about here. So it adds a bit of 3D-ness to it. So what I'm going to do, go in with my black pen and start to finalise everything like I did before. So I'll go through this, I'll speed this bit up, and I'll meet you back here in a second. So there you have it. Very light, sketchy, but a side-on profile of a dog. So what we're going to do now is have a look at the dog with his mouth open. So again, I'm going to start with a circle. Always start with a circle. Let's clear that line out a little bit. Always start with a circle. So what I do when I'm drawing a mouth open is I draw a top line for where the top of the head is going to be, roughly, and a line that goes like this, and it almost becomes this triangle shape, and then round that off at the front here. Do you see? It's almost like a pizza slice now, and I think that gives a really good kind of guideline for how the mouth and the jawline falls. So if I show you the skull again, when the mouth is closed, you can see that the top of the nose and the bottom of the jaw are almost parallel. Now when the mouth opens and it hinges back here, you can see that that line is no longer parallel. So for example, if we pop the jaw horizontal on the screen, you can see the mouth points open and there's almost this triangle shape here. See that? And then when the mouth closes again, you can see how the angle changes. So that's what I've done here. Got that kind of triangle shape here. This is the top of the head. So we're going to pop this as the bridge of the nose here. I'm just going to pop in the actual nose itself here. And then the upper lip kind of comes in. Again, it depends on the dog breed, but it comes in like that. It tends to hang quite loosely. Now, when the dog's mouth is open, so the mouth itself is quite short, for example, on this German Shepherd. As soon as the mouth is open, that upper lip gets pulled right back into the corner of the mouth. And then the lip actually sags down here. So again, this open line is much more of a guideline. It's not going to be perfect. You can see the chin here. So that's why I've done this kind of curved line here, is to show you that the nose and the chin fall on the same line. That's where the chin is. So you can see that there's a lot of open space here. Now this isn't all just air. This has got actually the rest of the the rest of the mouth falls within this space. So we've got the tongue, for example, comes out around about the middle. So I've got my reference. I'll show you in the corner somewhere. The teeth. So this is actually the jaw. And this is more sort of lip space, but the teeth you can see are roughly here as well. And I'll pop in roughly where the lower canine is. You can't see it on this reference, but it is there. And then we've got the tongue. You can draw the tongue coming out like that. So having this triangle shape from where the top of the nose is and the bottom of the jaw is really helpful for just getting a rough guideline in. So the eye would be right here. We'll fill in the top of the head as well. So the eye is corner of the ear. And then the throat comes down like this. So do make the most of that triangular shape. And that gives you a really nice structure for where the lines of the mouth fall. I'm just going to draw in everything that I want to keep so you can see it better as well. Top of the nose goes along that triangle shape. Fill in that nostril. Then you've got the front of the mouth and the nose, where the lip sags here. So actually what's happening is all these muscles are getting pulled back. So there's a lot of tension here in the face. There's that lower lip bit. There's also kind of the wet part of the lip that comes in here. So this bit is kind of this bit, but you'll see that when you look at the reference. You always look at your references. Always helpful. So pop in a canine tooth. This is kind of the gum line. And some teeth here. And we'll have where the tongue comes out like that. You can also draw the other part of the mouth. Obviously you can't really see it because it's inside. Add some depth in here by putting in the opposite lip. And slope off that head. and then those bits. So very simple tip on how to draw an open mouth. So there you have it. There were a slight tutorial on how to draw the dog from the front, from the side, and with his mouth open. Now I hope all that makes sense. I'm still learning how to do good tutorials, and any feedback you want to send my way I really appreciate. So thank you again for being Patreons. Thank you for supporting me, and I really hope these tutorials are valuable to you. As always, if you could leave in the comments ideas for future tutorials, that'd be grand. But yeah, I am sorry if I'm not very good at describing things. It's still very early for me. I'm trying to get into teaching people how to draw. It's quite hard for me personally, but I want to do it, and I want to make it as valuable as possible. So even if my descriptions aren't very good, I hope you can at least follow the drawings themselves, and I hope that they help you. So thank you again for watching, thank you for your support, and I can't wait to see you again for the next one.